In December 1975, in a lab in Rochester, New York, a 24-year-old engineer took a photograph. It was black and white. It was blurry. It took 23 seconds to save. And it was the first photo in history taken without a single piece of film. The engineer worked for Kodak. He showed his invention to his bosses, and the company that owned 90% of the film in America looked at the machine that would end film and told him to keep it quiet. Kodak didn't miss the future. Kodak built the future and then spent 30 years hiding it from itself. This is how. For most of the last century, if you had a memory worth keeping, Kodak kept it. George Eastman founded the company in 1888 with one idea: make photography simple enough for anyone. His slogan said it all. You press the button, we do the rest. By 1900, the Kodak Brownie camera cost $1. A roll of film cost 15 cents. And that dollar camera is the whole story, because Kodak didn't get rich selling cameras. It sold those cheap. Kodak got rich on everything the camera needed: the film, the paper, the chemicals, the developing. Sell the razor cheap, make a fortune on the blades. Roughly 80% of Kodak's profit came from film alone. At its peak in 1976, Kodak controlled 90% of every roll of film sold in America and 85% of the cameras. It employed around 145,000 people. Kodak moment wasn't a slogan anymore. It was just how Americans described happiness. This was not a company. It was a monopoly on memory. His name was Steve Sasson, 24 years old, fresh out of engineering school, handed a vague, almost throwaway assignment. See if a new kind of light sensor might be useful for anything. For a year, he built a machine out of spare parts: a movie camera lens, a fistful of chips, and a cassette tape deck to store the image. In December 1975, it worked. 23 seconds to record, 23 more to play it back on a television. The result was a grainy, ghostly image, and proof that a photograph no longer needed film to exist. Sasson knew what he was holding. He told his managers this would be ready for consumers in 15 to 20 years. He was almost exactly right. Then he showed the executives. And here's where the legend gets it slightly wrong. They didn't panic. They didn't smash the machine. In Sasson's own words, their reaction was, "That's cute, but don't tell anyone about it." One of them asked, genuinely puzzled, why anyone would ever want to look at their photographs on a television. They weren't stupid. They filed a patent. They collected royalties on it for years. What they would not do, could not do, was the one thing that mattered: take it seriously. Because taking it seriously meant admitting that the machine on the table was designed to kill the most profitable product in the company's history. What happened next wasn't a crash. It was a company holding its breath for 30 years. Kodak's own researchers laid it out plainly. Digital would replace film, and they had maybe a decade to get ready. Management read the report, agreed with it, and then protected film anyway. Every incentive inside the company pointed backward. Factory towns depended on film. Bonuses depended on film. An entire fortress had been built around the blades, and no one wanted to be the person who burned it down. Now, contrast that with a company facing the exact same asteroid. In Japan, Fujifilm sold film too, owned the same kind of plants, faced the same extinction. But Fuji's leadership made a brutal decision Kodak never could. They assumed their core business was already dead and went looking for a new one. They took the chemistry behind film and turned it into cosmetics, medical imaging, industrial materials. They cannibalized themselves on purpose. Fujifilm is still here today. Kodak, meanwhile, kept flinching. When it finally chased digital, it was late, and the margins were gone. You can't sell blades in a world of razors that never wear out. Its digital camera share slid from 27% to 7%, and even those sales lost money. The film revenue that had funded everything simply evaporated. On January 19th, 2012, the company that invented digital photography filed for bankruptcy, around $6.8 billion in debt. Its workforce cut from 145,000 to 19. And in the fire sale, Kodak sold off its patents. Among them, the foundational patents for digital imaging. The company sold the future it invented to the companies that used it to bury the company. The comfortable lesson here is Kodak failed to innovate. It's also completely false. Kodak out-innovated everyone. It invented the very thing that killed it, and its own reports predicted its death with eerie accuracy. Kodak didn't lose because it couldn't see the future. Kodak lost because it could see the future perfectly and was making too much money in the present to walk toward it. That's the real trap, and it's a far scarier one because it doesn't look like failure. It looks like a great quarter. It looks like protecting your best product. Fujifilm proved the choice was real. Same threat, different decision, opposite ending. The most dangerous thing a company can own isn't a bad product. It's a golden one, profitable enough to make everyone afraid to kill it, even when they can already see what's coming. Kodak had the future in its hands in 1975, and it set it down because the present paid better. Every empire eventually wrecks. Kodak's was over the moment it decided the future was a threat instead of a plan. If this one landed, subscribe. Next time, the company that ruled the phone in your pocket and lost it in the time it takes to sign a contract. Nokia.